Right. Hello, and welcome to an unexpected Fundivided episode. I'm joined by Jordan.
Hello. You're
Hello.
stitching me right up from the start, are you?
Oh, me and you on a podcast. There's no Sam.
No, Sam. Yeah, I feel like I owe the audience a bit of an explanation, Eddie.
Maybe just a little one. Just a little one.
Okay, so basically, let me take you through the process of Fun Filtered. At the beginning of last year, we switched over from recording on Eddie's phone to recording on microphones. So what the process has been is we have 3 microphones connected to 3 laptops, and every single laptop is recording to Audacity. Now we've got the same microphones, same settings on Audacity, everything like that. But because we've all got different laptops, and because technology is fucking stupid,
yeah,
it's all the different recordings that we have, even though it's the same recording of the same conversation, they're all recorded at slightly different speeds. So at the beginning, at 0.000, everyone will be in perfect sync. But by an hour and a half, 2 hours later, Eddie will be like 900 milliseconds ahead, Sam will be 800 milliseconds behind. It's all completely out of sync. So what we've had to do for every single recording is I've had to basically go into Audacity, chop up the tracks, and then basically change the speed of everything so that it's all running concurrently, like side by side. It's all in sync. But that takes so long to do. And I've all had to do it by ear as well, because sometimes the waveforms are not exactly the best judge of like when the tracks are in sync. So after like nearly a year of doing that, I've said to Eddie and Sam, like, I've had enough. We need to switch over to something that's more convenient, something where everything is just synchronized from the start. So we did that.
We should stress that this is partly prompted by the fact that we have a cable, or had a cable, which sometimes didn't record properly.
Long-time Fun-Filtered listeners would know that we've had multiple problems with audio. Initially with Sam, then with Eddie. It was all the result of the same cable, which was basically just not working properly.
Yeah.
So Eddie got himself a new cable, and I was like, right, I'll take the opportunity to switch over from Audacity to, I think it was OBS.
Okay.
It's basically like streaming software. That way, you got 3 microphones going into 1 laptop, recording to 1 piece of software. No reason it should be a problem, right? So we recorded a 2.5-hour podcast with no tests, no preparations. We just went straight into it going like, oh yeah, it'll be fine. And the audio was completely unusable. It was just, there were moments where like for some reason one person would be like 2 seconds out of sync with everybody else, but everyone else is perfectly in sync, and it would change which person was out of sync. You had moments where somebody would be like significantly quieter than everybody else. It just made no sense whatsoever. So we're like, shit, we don't have an episode. And so in a panic, we were like, right, okay, me and Eddie we'll do an impromptu Fundivided, a panicked Fundivided, and then Sam, because there's some stuff in the podcast that Sam didn't want to lose. So Sam is going to be doing his own special just him episode that's going to be coming out a little bit after this. So you got that to look forward to as well, I guess.
Yeah.
It's a
double upload. It's a double upload.
Double upload. No idea how it's going to go. Because Sam is going to be completely unchecked, and it remains to be seen whether that was a good idea on our parts.
Well,
and this is a unique thing as well, isn't it, Eddie? Because even though we do a podcast together, and even though I like to think,
talk.
I was going to say, at least I like to think that we're very good friends. We don't really talk.
No, we are. But it reminds her, and you won't mind me talking about it. My friend Sean from college, it's exactly the same. Me and my friend Jake, we talk like all the time.
Yeah.
But to get me, Jake, and Sean, bearing in mind we all went to the same college, we went on holiday together and everything like that, and I actually met Sean first.
Yeah.
Me and Jake talk all the time, but me and Sean just don't like casually text or anything like that. It is always the 3 of us, and it will be me that starts the conversation in the group chat. But me and Sean just don't talk, and it's exactly the same thing. I've known Sean for fucking 3 years longer than I've known you, nearly.
Yeah.
So yeah,
rather than
how it works.
we thought rather than actually starting to talk to each other properly like friends, it's like, oh, we'll contrive a reason. We'll do a podcast together.
Do a podcast. Yeah, I mean, you know,
So
I mean,
we don't have to.
no, but
Like,
the thing with it is though, like you've got me and Sam like do talk, obviously, but like we won't discuss films outside of the podcast at all anymore and stuff like that.
no.
So half the things we used to talk about are just out the window.
Yes.
Like that is just completely gone now.
That's like a weird side effect of doing a podcast, because the reason that we wanted to do one, I mean, this is a weird case because Funfilled had sort of emerged from the carcass that was an old podcast that you started on your own.
The unscripted podcast.
The unscripted podcast. And I think the initial idea for that was that it was integrated into a brand that you were coming up with that was to do with mental health, right? Because the very first podcast you did was about male mental health. I don't know if this is something we've covered on Funfiltered or not.
I feel like we very briefly brought it up in the first episode to explain.
Yeah, we definitely alluded to it a couple of times.
Yeah.
So it started out as that, but then it sort of became a more general, like, whatever the hell kind of podcast, and then it sort of became more culturally, because that's the stuff, pop culture, that stuff we talk about all the time.
Yes.
But we can't anymore because we do a podcast. So if we have a really good conversation outside of the podcast, we're like, fuck, that's content gone.
Yeah.
So it has kind of ruined, even though like me and Sam used to talk like all the time about, like, we used to meet each other like, 3-4 times a week. We used to talk a lot. We don't feel like we can anymore because that's content that we could be using.
Oh, exactly.
That's completely ruined. So as a way to sort of get around that, I guess, we decided that, again, long-time listeners of Unfiltered will know, Sam doesn't like video games.
No.
He's not a fan. He can't get through a conversation of video games without either staying completely silent or just going on about how much they're a waste of time and how much we don't need video games and how silly video game, like the people in the world of video games are. The whole he sees the people you get at E3 who are like cringe-inducing and they're trying to be like hip and trend. He thinks that's all gamers. So he can't get through.
He just doesn't engage. He
doesn't want to as well. He can't get through video games, which is fair enough. But that does mean that I can't, like, video games is something that it's a hobby of mine. It's something that I keep up with quite a lot, but it's not something I can talk about on the podcast because he doesn't want to. But you play some video games, Eddie, don't you?
I do play some video games.
This is going to be the little get it all out of your system podcast where we talk about video games. So when we finally get back to Funfiltered, Sam doesn't have to put up with me bringing up Persona 5 out of nowhere.
I would say, there was nothing funnier than finding out you discussed Persona 5 with Sam without me, because there's no way he's engaging for that properly.
Yeah, so. Not just any video game as well. A video game that typically I don't like. I think I said on that podcast, JRPGs are just not my thing. Because I don't know about you. I mean, your favorite game, you've said before that your favorite game is Fallout 3.
Yes.
So there is an element of RPGs at very least that I think you like. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to video games, I don't like video games where the character gets stronger. I like video games where the player gets stronger. So, for example, in Persona 5 and basically any other RPG, there's a leveling system, which means that your character is significantly more powerful at the end of the game than they are during the tutorial. Like, if you were to go up against the final boss, you'd be doing significantly less damage if you did it at the very beginning of the game as to when the game, by the time you get to him at the end. I prefer games like Super Meat Boy, for example, where that character, Super Meat Boy, has all of the abilities at the beginning that he will have throughout the entire game. He never gets more powerful, he never gets more proficient at the game, but the player, you have to get better. Like, that's one of the magic of that game, and a lot of games like that, is you run through the first few stages, and they're pretty tricky, and then you get further, and by the time you get to World 4, you've just, like, hit a brick wall. You're like, I can't be doing with this. I'm just going to go back to the first couple of levels just to blow off some steam. And you just, like, they're nothing,
Yeah.
That's what I like about games. Games where you get better rather than the character gets better. So it's, that was sort of funny to me when we were talking about Persona 5. It's like, I don't even really like this type of game, but I can't. But Sam himself is like, oh, I just don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't want to talk about it.
See, I don't mind a leveling game. Like, I feel like Fallout counts as a leveling game. 'Cause
Yeah.
also you
Would you
can.
say that's a full-blown RPG, or is that like BioShock, where it's an action game with RPG components?
Oh, I mean, because obviously it's quite open world.
Yeah, I know the first couple because Fallout 3 was different developer, right? Obsidian
Yeah,
did the first two,
Fallout
and
3 is
then
Bethesda.
it went to Bethesda. And I know that there's a bit of a divide in terms of the fan base between Fallout 1 and 2 and then Fallout 3, because I think New Vegas was also Obsidian.
But it's very like Fallout 3.
But it's very like Fallout 3, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I haven't really played the Fallout games, but I think there is a divide between 1 and 2 and the third one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's you wouldn't get. I don't think you would get a fan of the original Fallout who is also a fan of Fallout 3.
Okay.
Like, I think that would be very rare because
Okay.
I mean, I don't really know 1 and 2. I came to it from 3 at school.
Mm.
And I just remember it being the first time my dad had bought me something that was 18 rated before I was 18,
Right.
and telling me I had to hide it from my mum because she was not a fan and would not let me play it. I did cheekily hide that. But yeah, I haven't played those. But then I haven't played some of like the old, like, you know, Grand Theft Auto to me. I mean, I played like San Andreas and Vice City a bit, but
yeah, I think they're the ones that most
really.
people have played, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got games like 4 and 5 where everyone has played 4 and 5. But 3 as well. I think that is like a game that a lot of people. That's a game that belongs to a lot of people's childhood. You know.
Yeah.
San Andreas, Vice City. I assume they're like spin-offs. They're not like official.
I think so. Yeah.
They're not part of like their own installment. They kind of are, but not really. But you said you like. What do you like about? I see the merits of a leveling system because it does kind of reward the player, even though the character is getting stronger. It's rewarding your. It feels like it's rewarding your time investment rather than your skill. I think maybe that's why I don't like it as much.
I mean, I suppose the thing for me, like, because in terms of games that don't have that, the best example is games like FIFA for me.
Okay.
And with FIFA, I just don't get very much. I don't really get better at playing FIFA, so
Right.
that just frustrates me. But look, no, in terms of like the leveling up, because I like the idea of finding things that I can't unlock because I don't have the right level, so I have to go and work at it to then be able to come back and like handle that. So like the most recent thing I've been playing is Fallout 4, and you know that you get into things where, I mean, the leveling system is different between 3 and 4 anyway.
Yeah.
But you're getting to the point where it's like, oh, this is like the hard difficulty, and in terms of like pickpocketing stuff, and I'm still on like the first difficulty. So it's like, okay, I can't deal with that. I can't use that yet. We'll go off. We'll try something else. See a different area. See what I can unlock there. And because I like the world that comes within the sort of Fallout games, I know I will want to go back to those areas anyway. So it's like, that'll be something to explore when I come back to those areas.
Yeah. That's another thing as well. And it's not a point that sort of I came up with, but it's a point that I've heard that I definitely agree with. I think another problem with leveling systems is it means that you can only really be in one part of the world at one time. So, for example, if you end up wandering into like an area that you're just completely under-leveled for, like the most basic enemy is 5 or 6 levels higher than you, you're not really going to be getting the best experience because they're going to be so much stronger than you. And it works the other way as well. Like in Bloodborne, for example, if you want to go back to lower areas in order to farm enemies to level up to go to the higher areas, if you go back to areas that you've already been through, those enemies they're not worth your time. Like you only need to look at them and they die, you know? Because you're so overpowered in that one. So there's only like one portion of the world that you could really be in at one point rather than, you could go anywhere and do anything, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas you've got something like an open world game like GTA, for example, like you could go anywhere at any time. Whereas, with a leveling system, it feels like only one portion of the game world is really within your it's only appropriate for you, you know, at any one time.
No, that's fair. That is, yeah, as I said, like I mean, I like it with Fallout. I don't know where it stands with other games. Fallout's the most obvious example because although it's different between like Fallout 3 and Fallout 4, it's one of those things which I actually like in terms of for Fallout 4 because it's not as good a game, but I like the way they've set it up because in Fallout 3 you kind of had the set things that you could improve and that would improve certain other things and help you with certain things. In Fallout 4, you literally get like one perk point and that can upgrade your strength, or you can upgrade like your pickpocketing. It doesn't like help with both.
Yeah.
So you do really have to like work at getting those levels up. So I do like that for Fallout 4.
Okay. So it's sort of you level up as not like a leveling system would normally work, but you choose where those improvements go.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's a similar thing in Bloodborne actually, and Dark Souls by extension, where you can choose like, do you want to be a more magic orientated build, or do you want to focus on defense, or do you want to focus on stamina and health, and you can sort of choose what stats you increase at any one time, you know. I mean, you know, it's not like a turn off for me. It's not like, oh, a game has a leveling system. No, because Bloodborne is one of my favorite games, certainly on the PS4. But it is probably one of my favorite games. I finished that. Dark Souls, I've really tried with Dark Souls. I've got as far as I beat Ornstein and Smaug, which I think is considered to be one of the harder fights in the game, which is about 2/3 of the way through. I'm now sort of in the final portion of Dark Souls.
Yeah.
I just can't. I can't. I'm done with it, you know. Whereas Bloodborne, I've three or four times I finished that now. I think it's considered to be a bit easier than Dark Souls, but I'll happily sit through a playthrough of Bloodborne. Dark Souls, I don't have the energy for it anymore. Genuinely don't.
I mean, I did skip on Dark Souls on
It's weird. It's sort of like, I know that it's like, oh, the appeal is like you will constantly be dying all of the time, and you know you have to push through, and that breeds frustration. But there is something almost zen-like about the Souls games, where you're sort of because you obviously you don't respawn where you die. You respawn at like certain checkpoints. So if you're in the throes of a boss fight, you have to start. You don't start at the arena. You have to start like a few yards back. So you have to fight through a horde of enemies to get to the boss, and that horde of enemies might very well kill you before you even get back to the boss fights. But there is something kind of zen-like about just sort of slowly making progress through the world, you know? I remember, like, probably within the first, like, 20 hours or so, where I was still willing to put myself through the torture. I just had, like, podcasts on, and I was just, like, I had those on as I was, like, running through the sewers and cleaning through the enemies, and there is something zen-like about it, but I just prefer Bloodborne. I think the difference is, with Dark Souls, it feels like it's more defensive-based.
Yeah.
Like you sort of have to... You can sort of create openings for yourself, but you sort of have to wait for the enemies to open themselves up to attack and then take the first possible opportunity, whether that's a matter of like parrying enemies or like using a shield or stuff like that. Whereas with Bloodborne, it's just go, go, go. Like kill the enemies before they kill you. It's so much faster. I don't know how, do you know much about like Bloodborne and like the Souls games and stuff like that?
I've seen bits of Bloodborne. I just knew I wasn't going to enjoy Dark Souls because I was probably going to die in a lot.
Yes, that will definitely happen. But yeah, Bloodborne, they have a mechanic where if you take damage, but then you immediately attack the enemy, you get some of your health back. So it incentivizes aggression.
Okay.
So it's so much faster, because that's disheartening. If you spent 30 minutes progressing in Dark Souls and then you lose all of that progress, you can't just like charge through to where you were. You've got to go back and do all of that defensive gameplay again. So it's, you know, you still have to put the time in, even though you've made that progress. Whereas with Bloodborne, you can just power through everything. So even though it's still like, you're still being put back after you lose your, you know, after you die, you're still losing progress. It doesn't feel like it takes as long to get back to where you were. It doesn't feel like the game is like wasting your time as much. And that's sort of what it ended up feeling like with me for Dark Souls. It did reach the point where it felt like, this is just wasting my time. This game's just fucking me about. I don't want to do it anymore. Leave me alone, you know?
No, that's yeah. I mean, I do hate because I'm quite bad with a lot of games in terms of completing them to 100% and finding like all the different side things. But like the original, so Call of Duty 4, the original Modern Warfare, there are obviously things you can go and find off to the sides.
Yeah.
Like the intelligence and stuff like that. And I think I've got one left.
Okay.
And I purposely have not played Modern Warfare since I got to that point.
Okay.
Because I was just getting wound up. And so what was happening was I would take Modern Warfare out, I would put Modern Warfare 3 in, and I would just shoot a lot of people on the like battle mode.
Okay.
With the way
I was going to say, like Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 3, they're essentially like they're both shooters. It's
like
a fundamentally different experience.
I go into the waves mode that's on Modern Warfare 3 and just shoot people.
Okay.
And sort of take my frustration out. I do that with a lot of games, I think, though, now. Like, if I'm playing FIFA for, like, hours and I get annoyed, I will take it out and I will put Call of Duty in the Xbox and go and shoot some people.
Yeah.
Or I've done it with Fallout 4, actually. I was getting annoyed at Fallout 4 because there was a deathclaw that was particularly hard to beat. And so I was like, nah, fuck this. And just went and shot people for like 20 minutes of Call of Duty.
Right. Doom you want? Have you played Doom at all?
No, you talked about Doom.
I've talked about Doom. Doom Eternal as well. They're brilliant in terms of like just cathartic like shooters. Not just because of like the violence, but I think like the difference with Doom, because again, Doom is a game that's very aggression focused. Because you have like this arsenal of weapons at your disposal, and you have like health and armor and all of this like defense, all of these like stats that you have to keep an eye on. But the best way to get like ammunition back for your weapons, and the best way to get armor, and the best way to get health, is to kill enemies in a certain way. So if you have like the chainsaw, for example, if you chainsaw enemies, that will drop ammo for your weapons. If you set an enemy on fire and then shoot them, that will give you back armor. So you have to, if you want to survive a battle, you can't play defensively because you'll just get ripped to pieces. So it is just go, go, go. Again, maybe that's the type of game that I like. I didn't. I just like games that are really aggressive. But yeah, like even if you lose in Doom, just like the catharsis of like of moving around so quickly and like just taking out enemies. It's definitely one of the more cathartic experiences I've had with a video game. I really like Doom. And the music as well. The music is just like it's just really good. It's just insanely good.
I credit Fallout 3 with some of the weirder taste in music that I have.
Okay.
Because there's a band
of like golden oldie music. Like
that
type of music.
The Ink Spots in particular and Cole Porter.
Okay.
Which no one who's 25 should be a big fan of, I imagine, really. I do have a bit of a weird love for Cole Porter. Like he's like his character. There's a character of him in Midnight in Paris as well.
Who played him? I don't remember.
So I couldn't tell you who played him, but
where does he show up roughly in the? Is he like a major character, or is he like Dali, where he's just he's over there?
Well, he's playing the piano. He's in the background. He makes a joke about how the guy sounds like Cole Porter, and they're just like, "Well, it's Cole." And
okay.
I remember. It's in the 20s. So he's in it for a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Ink Spots, because obviously the main song with that was "I Don't Want to Set the World on Fire." And that song, because I would hear it so often, it just got stuck in my head. And, like, I own an album. I think it's just the greatest hits, but I own an album by the Ink Spots now.
Right. Okay.
And I do listen to it quite a lot.
Yeah, there's some stuff like that. Like BioShock, I've played all the BioShocks. So like Somewhere Beyond the Sea and that kind of music. There's a bit like it's not stuff that I go out of my way to listen to, but games can certainly like you know, like if there's a song in a video game that works for the game, it sticks with you, you know?
Yeah.
It can be a gateway into music. I wouldn't say that it's like a gateway into music, but like Sonic music, for example, like that is. I love like Sonic the Hedgehog music. That like cheesy sort of. It's not. I don't know. It's not hair metal. Sam came up with the word rad rock, like radical
Yeah.
rock,
Yeah.
because it's like hard hard rock, heavy. I don't know exactly what the genre is for Sonic music, but that is just my favorite type of music. I don't really. I do listen to like proper music, but I generally I'm just listening to video game music a lot. That's just I don't know why. It's just
I mean, I can't. If I'm going to sit down and talk about music, this podcast is going to be a long, long podcast.
I know that you're sort of like you'll listen to anything. You listen to loads of
and
genres. You're always up to date on music.
I do have a thing now where if I'm listening to like rap music, I will just listen to rap music. I will no longer like have a rap song on and then go into indie or like hard rock. Like I do kind of segregate it out now. So it's like, okay, like I'm listening to, I've got a rap, so I'll listen to some rap music. If I'm going to listen to some pop, I'll listen to pop punk. Because otherwise, just, particularly like my housemates will just hear music and they won't know what the fuck's going on. Like, just like, what is he lit? Like,
so do you have a preference in terms of what type of music you listen to? Or is it is literally just anything? It's just whatever I'm in the mood for.
Well, Frank Turner's like the main person these days, so I guess folk punk. Okay. Like him and Beans on Toast, because they're like acousticy, like folky rock punk bit sort of thrown in. So I guess, probably that. And then just the ink spots sit in like the background.
Just jumped in the middle.
I do like. I mean, I quite like Vera Lynn as well, which is quite bizarre. And it is funny because like sometimes if I'm like in the office at work or anything, I got headphones and someone comes and like, oh, what are you listening to? And I just like sometimes they'll come in and I'll have, if I'm doing cash at work, I like having rave music on. I listen to people like Camel Fat and like proper rave music because it's fast paced. I feel like I get it done quicker. But if I'm just like there typing an email or anything like that, I'm probably listening to something a bit weird. So that sometimes like walking like, oh, I'm just listening to Cosmo Jarvis, Magnetic Fields.
No, it's definitely. Hang on, I'm on my bed. Viewers, I do apologize if my laptop is like moving around too much because
it is.
It's balanced on like a cardboard box because my desk is not. I don't have a desk chair at the moment because my mother, like this was ages ago now, but she's got like her own like drawing room downstairs. And because at the time I had like clothing on my chair, she was like, "Oh, can I borrow the chair?" I was like, "Yeah, I don't need it for anything." Yeah, you don't realize how much you like need a desk chair until it's gone. So I'm sort of stuck like with the bed at the moment, which is why I'm balancing it on like a cardboard box.
I don't have the space for it, but I want an armchair for my room, and I have a desk chair.
Oh,
I used to want an armchair.
Not anymore, because I don't know where I'd put it. But I used to want a beanbag. Because I had at the old house, I had a, I don't know what you'd call it. It's not a shed. Like a summer house, I guess. Like a mini summer house. It was like a present that my dad bought for me when I was like 5 or 6 or something.
Yeah.
He's told the story loads of times. It's like he and his brother, my uncle, they came over the house like Christmas Eve nights to build it so that I wouldn't know that it was a present they'd bought. Because obviously if they built it in the back garden, I would have seen it. So I was sent up to bed early because it was Christmas Eve. They went outside. They built this summer house in like pouring rain, driving wind. It was like it took them like 3 times longer than it should have to build because of the just furious conditions outside. Christmas morning comes. I come downstairs. I open all of my presents. They're like, "We got one more present for you, Joe." They take me out into the back garden. They show me the thing, and I go, "Ah, okay." And then I just go back and like start playing with some of my other presents. My dad was like, "Bastard!" I out there all night build, and I think I went out there like once or twice the whole time we were there. I feel bad for it now in retrospect, but I had like beanbags in there, in that little summer house.
Well, when I moved into this house, there was a beanbag that got left by the previous person who had the room.
Okay.
But it was like he'd left it clearly because it had a hole in it. So I was really annoyed because I saw that and I was like, "Oh, I've got a beanbag chair, cool." And then it got left, so I just shoved it in the shed.
Right.
Because the shed of that garden's basically my landlord just does what he wants with the stuff. And then I thought about it. I was like, oh, maybe I could just repair the hole. And I went in the shed and he just taken the beanbag and cleaned to put in another house.
Right.
I was like, well, that's a bit rude. I mean,
okay.
I wanted that just because I put it in the shed temporarily.
It was better than you like sitting on the beanbag and just all of the stuffing just like flying out onto the floor.
Yes,
that's happened to me in the past. We've had like a sort of like a beanbag stool, and without me knowing there was a hole in it, and I sat on that, and stuffing just shot out across the room. Like, oh, I'm sorry about that.
Well, the thing is, when I was younger, I used to hate beanbags, really hate them, and it was only because when I worked in play scheme for the one of the care jobs I did, they had a sensory room with them in. And that, because they were like they're supposed to be like nice for just relaxing on, and I used to spend so much time in that sensory room, just not for the people I was supporting. I was like, yeah, come in the sensory room. I want to sit down.
Sit on this beanbag. Why did you hate beanbags then?
I don't know. I don't know what it was like, because I mean I wasn't when I grew up. Like my dad used to have. I don't know how. I mean, I don't want to. It's a puff basically, and he had that for the sofa. I used to like sitting on that rather than the sofa, and then he had like a chair which would like you could rock back and forth in, and I used to hate that for like a period of time. Then loved it, and then beanbags just kind of fell into this category of I just found them weird and didn't really know what to do, so I just didn't like them.
Right.
I think because you could move them into different positions, and I didn't like that. Just sort of weirded me out.
Right, okay. Is it liquid? Is it solid? I don't know.
An insight into my childhood and how much of a weirdo I really was. Couldn't comprehend a beanbag.
Yeah. Was it a beanbag that the master had in like classic Who? Or was it like a it wouldn't be jelly, but it was like that, those like chairs they had in the 80s where they were almost like a gelatin like
I know what you mean.
Was it one of those or was it a beanbag he had?
I don't know. I feel like I don't feel like it was a beanbag.
No, it might have been a jelly chair.
Yeah.
My mother, when Doctor Who came back, my parents were pitching the show to me. It's like, oh, you should watch Doctor Who, and I was like, no. And they were like, no, it'll be good. I was like, no, I want to watch Thomas the Tank, and that's that. But they're like, no, Doctor Who is good. And she said that like she used to be terrified of the Master's jelly chair because he used to be like, oh, come and take a seat in my chair, and he just used to like swallow them up. They used to be terrifying. I'm sure it wouldn't be now, looking back at it.
No, but I mean, if you watch The Exorcist now, it's not quite got the same effect it had when it came out.
No.
Same with like Psycho, really. I mean, I am a fan of Psycho, but it's not the same anymore.
Well, we watched a bit of a spoiler, I guess. This the Halloween episode that we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about Hill House and Bly Manor.
Which I've started watching today.
Which you started watching today. Mum showed me in preparation. I mean, we'd seen Hill House at this point. This was kind of in pseudo preparation for Bly Manor. I think it was just because she wanted to show us the film. We watched The Haunting, which was 1940, 1930, 1940, 1950. One of the 19s.
It's an old one.
It's an old one, yeah, black and white film. Obviously, it was the first adaptation of what became The Haunting of Hill House. And like it's those types of films. They have a certain charm to them, and they also have a certain like I don't know, like texture to them. They feel like, even though they're incredibly dated, and a lot of the techniques that they use, we've kind of moved away from. Like it feels more like it feels almost more like a theater piece than a film. A lot of older films feel. Apologies. A lot of older films feel a bit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like a fairly decent watch. I was like, yeah, this is it has aged, but there's still something to like about it. Even though you can see like the edges of the set like vibrate, whenever they go near them or something like that.
You need to watch Nosferatu. 1922.
I might do. Was
Proper
that on my
old.
list? Somebody lent me a list of like, in university they were like, it was like a box set of like, the greatest black and white films or something like that. I think that was in there. I
Yeah,
think
it will be.
Casablanca was in there.
Yeah.
What else was in there? Like films of Gone with the Wind was that black and white? Or was that color?
Oh fuck, I don't know.
It might have been in there just as like, oh,
It's
movie
better. I mean, yeah.
classics. Yeah. I didn't watch the box set because I didn't like him. It wasn't like a no, it wasn't like a I've heard you talking about these films, so I thought, hey, here you go, it's something you might like. It was you need to educate yourself. Here are black and white films you should watch. Like, oh, all right then.
Yeah.
I just didn't watch them.
Well, it's like I was talking to Sam because I've just bought Blade Runner, and I was asking him which version of Blade Runner I should get.
Oh yeah, there's like 90 different versions.
Yeah, and he went, "Oh, I think the final cut is the one that you go with these days." And I was like, "That's cool. I'll just get that." It was the easiest one to find. But I didn't realize he's not a massive fan of it. I just kind of in my head, I just assumed that Sam would be a fan of Blade Runner.
I mean, I wouldn't, just because Blade Runner is it's almost atmospheric Blade Runner, isn't it? There's not a lot going on. You watch it for the sort of craftsmanship of it.
Oh yeah.
And I know that Sam has long since moved past that phase of his life when it comes to film, because as we've said before, the problem with Sam is he watches literally everything.
He does.
So it's reached the point now where he watches so much stuff that not like ordinary people would look at and go, "Oh, this is great." Sam will go, "Yeah, it's fine." Because he watches so many films that are like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. That's become the new normal for him. So you need something like Parasite for him to acknowledge, like, "Oh yeah, this is good."
Yeah. Which is scary going into him when we do get around to reviewing Tenet.
Scary going into him?
No. So it's scary going into the review of Tenet with him.
Right, okay.
Because I have pointed out, me and him had a brief conversation the other day, in which I didn't like give away loads, but I sort of gave basic opinions. And he didn't seem that impressed, and I was like, "Well, I'm gonna buy it." That was like my basic review. Was I'm gonna buy it, and then it was like, just talking about little things. It's like, okay, and I was like, he's not gonna like it. I really don't think he's gonna like it.
Yeah.
But we shall see. We shall see, and obviously, we will do a proper review of that once we've all seen it.
Yeah, we'll get round to it. We haven't forgotten about, we do a film podcast. We didn't do Tenet. We haven't forgotten about it. We will get around to it.
I did get asked. So a friend of mine who listens was like, "You guys haven't reviewed Tenet. It's the only film out." I was like, "We know, but I'm the only one that's actually seen it."
Yeah. No, we will get round to it.
Yeah.
I know it's sort of like we've moved away from video games a little bit, but like you said that you were surprised that Sam wouldn't like Blade Runner. And yeah, I think it's a fairly Sam will confirm it, I'm sure, but I think it's a fairly comfortable assessment that Sam is he's less bothered by the craftsmanship of a film. Obviously that's still important, like that still contributes to a great experience overall.
Yeah.
Parasite is an incredibly well crafted film. But I think he prefers films just like for the writing. Yeah. Like he prefers well-told stories on a writing level as opposed to films that are very well put together. Where are you at in terms of what kind of films you like?
I am going through a weird I'm trying to watch a lot of international films phase.
Yeah. Because that was one of the discussions that we lost. You watched Climax, didn't you?
Yes.
French, Gaspar Noé, French film, which, that's not... it's great, like, in its own way.
It's great, but it's intense as fuck.
Yeah, I think it's like the type of film you watch once, and then you don't need to see it again.
No.
You know? You'll remember it.
But
you
for
don't
some reason, I do really want to buy on DVD. And
I
don't know
definitely...
why.
I'd want to own it, but like the only reason I would ever go back to Climax is if I was watching it with somebody else. Just like, I want to watch a film. Oh, well, I'll someone I don't like that much. It's like, oh, do you want to watch Climax? It's good, I promise.
So yeah, for me, like the only reason I'm probably watching it again is if someone who's like into that kind of film is like, what's this? But then I would assume anyone that's into that kind of film has probably seen Climax.
Yeah, or might know it by reputation. But then again, I don't feel like I've heard much about it. I found it basically completely by accident. So I don't know
I
how
only found it because Sam put it on a recommended list.
Yeah, so I don't know how well known it is. But yeah, I feel that like that's a bit of a you need to be sort of eased into film. You certainly need to be eased into international film before you watch Climax, I think.
Yeah. Well,
It's not a film that you jump straight into at all.
No, and neither is because I watched Grave of the Fireflies.
Oh, right, okay.
I was like, that's another one by the Studio Ghibli. I like some of their films. Let's watch that. Oh, okay, right.
Isn't it like depressing as fuck?
Yep. Yeah. It's not a film you watch if you're sad.
No,
not a film if you watch.
I think that's why I haven't watched it yet, because that was on my list.
Yeah,
there's a bunch of anime I still have, like anime films. I still haven't seen Akira. That's been on my list for years. Grave of the Fireflies was another one, but I knew that by reputation. I was like, okay, I might hold off on that one.
Well, I only heard about it because of I was looking at them up on Amazon, and that was like one of the main ones. That's like this, and I was like, I don't know that. And then he's obviously on Netflix now, and I was like, go on then, give it a go. Didn't pay attention to a trailer, just knew it was like a war based thing. I was like, let's give it a go. Like war films. No. Okay. Really good, brilliant film.
I was gonna say, is it at least good? Like, is it at least worth putting yourself through that misery? Is there a good film underneath it?
I will be honest, I will watch it again I will put myself through it again.
Okay.
But not for a while.
Yes. Okay.
I've just come off recovering from a health issue. This is probably not the best time to be watching a depressing as fuck film and a film about a bad LSD trip.
Yes, which Climax is, I should say. Like, if anybody hasn't seen that film, that's
Climax is
basically what it is.
Should we go back to video games? Because that's what this is meant to be about.
Okay.
And let's go back. I tell you what, let's start with first console. Let's do some actual, answer some questions, kind of.
Okay.
This is what Fundivided is meant to be. We're meant to ask questions.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, first console.
First console. First one that I owned or first one that I played?
Oh, go with played.
Okay, because if it's the first I played, it was my dad's old Sega Mega Drive. I think that was my first. Yeah, that was my first one. Sonic, the original Sonic the Hedgehog. I think that was my first ever video game. It was either that or Space Invaders from PS1.
Okay.
It was like a remake at the time. I think I might have. Sorry, hang on.
Oh, he's gonna find it.
What? That one.
But that is old as well.
Yeah. This is going to be completely useless to the people who are listening on. I just realized, because we're looking at each other through video.
Oh yeah, shit, this does come out.
And this is going up on YouTube, but it's also going out on Spotify and iTunes. So I apologize.
Okay, for the audio listeners, he's just held up his copy of Space Invaders on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, so it was either that, again, sorry, or it was Sonic the Hedgehog for Sega Genesis. But the Sega Genesis was my first one. First one I owned that was mine was the PS2. That was the first one that I owned.
Okay.
What about you? What was your same for you? First one you played, first one you owned.
So I think in terms of owned, I think the PS2 is mine.
Okay.
But we had a Nintendo 64 as a house. I think it was my sister's though, officially.
Right. Okay.
So the first one I would have played was the 64.
Yeah.
And it would have been. I mean, it's not. Did I play Banjo first? So I played Mario, Banjo, and GoldenEye in short times after each other.
Right. Okay.
So I can't remember which one I played first, but I do have a weird love of Banjo-Kazooie, even though I haven't played it in absolute donkey's years.
Banjo-Kazooie or Banjo-Tooie?
We had both.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I just like the character. I just like the way it looks.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I like those games. I'm sure have a certain appeal. I've never really. Well, I own a Nintendo Switch in all but actuality because my sister, I think she was playing the long game here. Because what my sister did is last Christmas, just before last Christmas, we'd gone out for like a Christmas meal back when you could leave the house before 2020 happened.
Yeah.
We went out for a Christmas meal and my parents was like, oh, so what do you want for Christmas? And I'm terrible when it comes to suggesting presents because there isn't really anything I want. Or at the very least, there isn't anything I want that like isn't like easily, I would want like, oh, if a new console came out, so, like I would want that, or I would want like a new PC, or I would want like they're expensive gifts.
Yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I want this book, or I want like nothing like that. So I never really have anything to ask for when it comes to Christmas. But my sister was like, are you interested in the Nintendo Switch? Like, yeah, I suppose. There's only like one or two games, because at the time, I think you could only get Cuphead on the Switch.
Okay.
Or it had just been ported to the Switch, because originally it was Xbox One exclusive. So I was like, yeah, there's like one or two games I'd want on the Switch, but yeah, I suppose, I wouldn't mind a Nintendo Switch. Thinking like it was just something she was bringing up as like anything, please, anything. So Christmas came. There's a Nintendo Switch there for me. It's like, oh, okay, that's a genuine surprise. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
So I bought like a couple of games for it. Like I bought Cuphead. I bought like Marble Blast Ultra. I think I bought for it. You laugh. It's like I genuinely like that.
It'll be absolutely class, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's one of those games where it's like it's focused entirely on its gameplay. There's nothing else around it. There's no like story. There's no real like music or level design. Like all of that stuff is just kind of placeholder. It's literally just we made like good gameplay and that's it. So bought that, bought Cuphead, bought like a couple of other games for it. March rolls around, Animal Crossing comes out. George, can I borrow your Nintendo Switch to play Animal Crossing? Like, yeah, okay. I mean, we'll have to figure out like a system. She was like, oh no, it's fine. I'm not gonna play that. She's put like 400 hours into Animal Crossing.
At this point, too many people have.
I haven't seen my Nintendo Switch since like April. I had it back for like one evening to play just Shapes and Beats. And then she took it back from me, and I haven't seen it since. And I know I'm not getting it back anytime soon because they're doing like a Halloween thing at the moment. So God knows if I'll ever get it back. My point being, though, other than the Nintendo Switch, I've never really owned any Nintendo consoles. We owned the Wii, but that was like the house console,
Yeah, the Wii was the house console for me too.
Yeah, so Nintendo 64, Nintendo GameCube, I've never owned any of those. So that sort of generation of games I completely missed out on,
Yeah, well, GoldenEye is my favorite from that console.
Okay.
I think it's probably my favorite Bond game ever.
See, that really surprises me. Maybe it's just the modern sort of stigma that movie tie-in games have. But it really surprises me that GoldenEye is not just like well regarded, but it's considered like a must-have. If you have a Nintendo 64, hell, if you don't have a Nintendo 64,
still
get
have
one.
the game.
Yeah, get one just to play GoldenEye. So I don't know, it's because I've never touched GoldenEye, so I have no idea like how it feels to play, what it's like. So I trust that it's good, but it's weird to me.
It's really good. It looks
so well regarded.
It looks shit. But I think most games did back then in comparison to now.
Yeah, some of them definitely, yeah.
Although I don't really like some of the modernized takes on things.
Such as?
Well, I feel like Banjo-Kazooie, for example, doesn't look quite the same anymore. And that, like, it's not bad, but like it's like a slight modernization, and it kind of just pisses me off that they'll make the edits. Like, it's not with everything, but it does piss me off at times that like the edits, you sort of look at it and go, well, it's like you've gone for the same thing, but you've just changed it. Like, I suppose, like if they'd have gone ahead with the original Sonic they were going to use for the Sonic film. Yeah. Like, there's just no need to change. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
We've talked that subject to death. Like,
yeah, exactly.
There's a whole section of, I think it was episode 14, part 2, where I said, like, this is my opinion on the Sonic design. This is why I think it's bad. This is why I think it's not like, there are some people who are like, oh, don't change the thing I like. But there are a lot of people like, no, this just genuinely doesn't work.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a topic that we've
done to death. We've done to death.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, 64 and GoldenEye. Big fan of Banjo, big fan of Mario. I can't remember what other games we had.
Okay.
I feel like I played Spyro as a young kid, but I can't remember if that would have been on the 64 or not.
I think that's PlayStation 1 only. I don't think that ever made it to the
PlayStation 1 then. In which case I would have played it on... Because I feel like I don't remember owning a PlayStation 1, but I remember playing PlayStation 1 games. Okay. So I'm assuming you could just do them on the PlayStation 2.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, PlayStation 2 was backwards compatible. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine then. That's exactly what I remember. Because I remember having Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Right.
For the PlayStation 1, which we played on PlayStation 2, which, again, graphics were horrific.
Oh, yeah.
Horrifically bad.
Famously bad, yeah.
Kind of fun to play. And yes, we definitely had a Spyro game. But then, yeah, you get to sort of PlayStation 2 and things do go up a level.
Yeah, I think for me, PlayStation 2 to 3 is still the biggest leap in terms of graphical fidelity. Like, I remember I went into... There was a gaming shop in Pontypridd called... Oh, I had it! I knew what it was until I needed to say it.
I'm just impressed Ponty had a decent shop at the time.
I think it was called Power Games. Again, sorry, I'm going to have to move. Because that's the other thing with Fundivided is they are literally completely unedited. So you got to enjoy my bed with all its broken springs for a moment there. I'm genuinely worried. Like, it's reaching the point where I'll just be lying in bed and the springs will just go up against the mattress. I'm worried I'm going to get impaled in my sleep.
Have you ever considered then that for Christmas this year you might want a new mattress?
I might start for it.
I mean, my dad literally bought part of the Christmas present for me today, and it's a lamp. Like, this is the sort of exciting things I get for Christmas. I get a lamp and some bulbs.
Yeah. Hey, if you need them, then they're precious.
No, to be fair, he's getting me a wok. And my sister's getting me a sieve, and I've never been more excited about anything in my life. My sister, for my birthday, my sister got me a surprise present. I can't remember if I talked about it on this podcast or not, but the surprise present was she got me 3 saucepans.
Right.
And I've never been more excited to have saucepans in my life, because I've been running off one for about the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's old, it's falling apart, you could never do 2, whereas now I can cook a sauce in one thing, the food, and then have something else on the go. I couldn't do any of that, so I'm I can cook decent meals. I'm not just relying on rice with everything shoved in kind of with it. So it's some actual things. So I'm really excited. And I think she's going to get me some cutlery as well, so I'm quite it sounds
living the life quality
depressing, but I'm so excited that my Christmas presents are going to be kitchen things, even though it makes me sound about 90.
Well, I mean, there's a certain joy in having stuff like that, but I think could be wrong. I think the real gift when it comes to buying someone cutlery or utensils or necessary household items is you don't have to buy them. That's the real gift, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I can still spend my money on video games and films and food. I don't have to just buy a bowl, a pasta bowl.
No,
and that's my budget for the week.
The thing with the lamp, I've needed a second lamp in my room since I moved into the house.
Right.
And I had my eye on one during lockdown, which I never bought. And then I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he was like, "Well, I could just get it you for Christmas." And then I was looking, I was like, "Oh, I can get it on Prime." And then he was like, "Right, well, I'll give you the money, and that can be your Christmas present." So the lamp arrives on Saturday. I'm just getting it now. So I've screwed him out of money, but I've got my Christmas present early, which does just mean though that when Christmas rolls around and all I've got is a wok to open from him, it'll be a little depressing. But less to carry back on the train coming home.
And also you'll be I was going to say, and you'll be able to see it because you'll have two lamps, so you'll be able to see the presents.
Yes.
But if you're going to the thing, then it's different.
So yeah, it will be quite nice to have a second lamp. But it is stupid that it literally came up of conversation. I was like, I need another lamp, and he was on Amazon, I was on Amazon. We just were on the phone together, and then he was like, "Well, do you want this?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah."
Yeah. What was Power Games?
No,
Power Games. It was the shop in Pontypridd, and it was around the time that the PS3 had come out, and I don't think I'd seen anything regarding the PS3 at this point because when would that have been? Like 2007? I don't know where the internet was at that point, but I was certainly not plugged into video games the same way I am now. So I knew there was a new console coming. I didn't know anything about it, but I walked in. And Power Games was great because they had games from every single generation. You know, they had PS3 games, but they had just as many like Nintendo 64 games and PlayStation 1 games. So it was a haven for gaming. And I think they did like Magic the Gathering stuff as well. So it was genuinely like all corners of gaming covered, you know? But I walked in and they had this massive display for the PS3. And whatever the current Gran Turismo game at the time was, I think it was Gran Turismo 5, was playing on the screen, and it looked real. It looked like photorealistic. I was like, that can't be the PS3, and that's why I think that's the biggest generation jump. Because even now, I remember seeing Gran Turismo 5 and thinking that's just insane. I don't know how they did that. You know?
Yeah.
But where were we at? So Nintendo 64, it was GoldenEye for you.
Yes.
And then your next console was PS2.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, it was PS1. So I'll say mine to catch up to you. So we're at the same point. Because that's one of the problems as well. We realized that we only have like two consoles in common. So in terms of like which generations we played, we're like all over the place.
Yeah, well, like, because I went from PlayStation to Xbox to PlayStation.
Yes. Whereas I've like rigidly stuck to. I did play Xbox 360 for a little bit. And then I was bought a PlayStation 3 by my dad, I think because it was his Xbox 360 and he was sick of me playing it.
Yeah, that's it.
So he bought me the PS3 and I was like, I'm flattered, but I don't think I'm really gonna. I've already got the Xbox. So I'm not gonna play the PlayStation as well, and I've got like more PlayStation 3 games than anything else. They take up like two whole shelves, you know. But yeah, PS1. I think it's probably the first Spyro for me.
Yeah.
I know, like, the third Spyro, everybody loves the third Spyro, and the third Spyro is good, but there's always, like, a point in the third Spyro where I don't lose interest, I just stop playing. It's usually around the point where you played Spyro 3.
I think so, yeah.
It's the one where you're playing, you don't just play as Spyro, you play as, like, the kangaroo, you play as the penguin, there's, like, different characters. It's usually the point you get to the penguin, Sergeant Bird.
Okay.
Whenever I get to that point, I, like, stop playing. No, I don't lose interest, I'm just like, I'm sort of done with it now. Whereas Spyro 1, I've completed like countless times, you know?
I mean, it's fair enough. I mean, like when it does come to like those sort of games, and certainly games of like that time, I feel like with the PlayStation 2, there are some games like I completed the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith game. I don't know how many times for PlayStation 2, and I don't particularly like it. It was just a game I completed a lot.
Right.
I think I liked lightsaber battles, and that's probably all it was.
Maybe. I think there were certain when you're at that age that. Well, I mean, how old were you when you had that game? Were you like young, or was it a little bit older?
I can't remember when it came out.
Okay. Well, it was PS2, so I would assume that you're at the very least younger than you are now. I think that's a safe assumption.
Well, my dad was still in his old house at the time, so
right. Okay.
Probably no older than 10.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I feel like when you're at that age, you sort of play whatever you've got. You know, like nowadays, that's less and less the case. You'll put a game in, and if it's not grabbed you, it's the same with me. If it's not grabbed me in like the first hour or so, or first couple of hours, I just lose interest in it. I think it's Control. Yeah, Control on PS4, which is like this really cool looking game, and the gameplay seemed pretty appealing. So I bought it like not long after it came out. I played it for like an hour, just haven't gone back to it. Like, it's not, I don't hate it. I will get back to it one day, but it just hasn't grabbed my attention. So I'm just like, I don't want to play it anymore. But like for PS2, for example, one of the games that I played like so much when I was younger was Cars, Disney Pixar's Cars. I put hundreds of hours into Cars.
Why?
I couldn't play it now. Genuinely couldn't play it now. It's so like, I think you just like, you play what you're given and you just put up with what you're given, you know? I mean, my favorite, if we're moving on to PS2, are we doing like console exclusives or are we doing like multi-platform games? So if the game came out on more than just the PS2, it doesn't qualify.
Well, it depends what your example is.
I was going to say my favorite game that I played on the PS2 is Sonic Heroes because it's my favorite game of all time. But it came out on like Xbox and it came out on the GameCube, and the PS2 version is universally considered to be the worst version of the game. Like it doesn't run properly.
Nah, keep it in. That's even better.
It genuinely doesn't run properly on the PS2. It's so much like you've got frame rate issues. The sound design is so much worse. The controls, while not great in Sonic Heroes, they're even worse on the PlayStation 2. But the point I was going to make is that, like, because you play what you're given, you kind of learn to play around a game's problems. So I'm pretty sure if I was to like put Sonic Heroes in front of you right now and say like, right, play it, you'd probably struggle with the controls and like getting used to the sense of like the weird sense of momentum the game has, and the fact that it's like some parts are too slippery, some parts are too like tight to control. It would probably like take you a while to get used to it. It would probably take you longer than you were willing to put the time into, if that makes sense. That was a weird sentence. I don't know where that was going.
I knew what you meant. It's fine.
Yeah. But because I played it when I was younger, I played around the problem. I think jank concession is the word that Sam came up with. I think it was a previous Sam's Lexicon.
Yeah, the jank concession.
The jank concession. Yeah, you just put up with the game's problems because, well, this is what I'm playing right now. You know? So that definitely feeds into why Sonic Heroes is a game that because it's a game I can play. Most people would struggle to play Sonic Heroes if they're coming to it for the first time today, whereas I can play it. So, you know, I've put my time in. So that's why I feel like I can call it, you know, one of my favorite my favorite game. Because if we're going on console exclusives, then probably Shadow of the Colossus, I think, is my favorite PS2 game. I don't know have you ever played Shadow of the Colossus?
No.
Oh, I highly, highly recommend it. It's actually, they did a full-blown remake on the PS4.
Okay.
And there's like, some people are a bit like back and forth on whether it's a better, like we're talking graphically now. Some people are like, oh, the PS2 version is better. It's not. The PS4 version is better. There's like a weird, there's like a haze to the PS2 version that's not present in the PS4 version.
Okay.
And I think people prefer that hazy, like mistiness. Because it sort of helps build the sense of mystery that the world has.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like the game performing properly, the PS4 version is so much better. For one thing, when you're scaling a Colossus, the game doesn't run at like 5 frames a second, which the PS2 version does occasionally drop to.
Oh, that's amazing. That's just so bad, but I just break.
But no, it's a fantastic. Like, I think it's one of the very few games that I would genuinely, unironically call a masterpiece. I think it's, you know, it's got technical problems, and in that respect, it would be difficult to call it a 10 out of 10. But I think it genuinely, in terms of like the idea of the game and the way they went about executing it, I think it's kind of flawless. There's nothing wrong with Shadow of the Colossus. It does mystery better than most forms of media, I think. Ambiguity, I should say. It does ambiguity better than a lot of forms of media. This is a conversation that I'm sure we've had about like films and TV. But so sometimes when a film or a TV show employs ambiguity, it can feel like it's sort of pasting over a lack of context. I don't know if you felt that when you're watching a show. So, for example, like if a character's backstory is being kept ambiguous, sometimes it feels like they couldn't be bothered to write a backstory, so they're just going, "Oh, it's mysterious," but it's not.
I know what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. But like with Shadow of the Colossus, for example, the setup of the game is that you are this warrior who's part of this tribe, and you've taken this woman who's been killed she was sacrificed. You've taken her to these like mysterious lands where you've learned that there is a beast that can bring people back to life. But in order to awaken the beast, you have to kill the 16 colossi that roam the land. They kind of, through killing them, the beast will reawaken. But it doesn't, in terms of your relationship to the woman, it's never actually been made clear, like, who she is. You don't know if she's your sister, you don't know if she's your girlfriend, you don't know if she's, like... I've even seen theories saying that this is the woman that you have killed, and the whole reason you're doing this is out of a sense of guilt rather than a sense of righteousness. And that's what I mean by it does ambiguity better than anything else, because it keeps a lot of details ambiguous, but it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what your relationship to that woman is. The point is that you are... it's clear that you want her to come back to life. It's clear that this is the goal that we are trying to achieve. So details kind of don't matter. And in that sense, it's sort of... the game is sort of improved by giving you less information because you can fill in the blanks yourself. So, yeah, like, I would absolutely recommend Shadow of the Colossus. On a gameplay level as well, it's so unique. Like, that game came out in 2005. There's basically no game since that's like Shadow of the Colossus. Like, Dark Souls came out in 2011.
Yeah.
And now it feels like most video games that come out are trying to replicate certain mechanics of Dark Souls. Or they're trying to do their own version of Dark Souls. Shadow of the Colossus, there's like maybe one in the last like 15 years. Because it's so well put together. And it's so like I don't know how they got it on the PS2. It's so like well made that I don't think anyone is able to make a rip off of Shadow of the Colossus. Like, it's that well put together. So
fair.
Yeah, no, I not just to you but to the audience, I couldn't recommend Shadow of the Colossus well enough, because it's basically just like a boss rush, I suppose. You're in this world, but there's nothing in the world. The world is completely barren. The game is basically... The game tells you to go kill a Colossus. You have to travel through this empty world to the Colossus. Nothing happens. There's no music. You're just like left alone with your thoughts. And then you get to the Colossus and you got to kill it. And you've got to like... It's not just a matter of like, oh, I have to shoot it or I have to like, wear down its weak points. There's almost like a puzzle element to it. So, for example, we will move off. I don't know if this is like interesting to anybody. We will move off it, I promise.
Fuck it. I don't give a shit, mate. This is indulgent for us. Fuck
okay.
I mean, I love you all, listeners. But we're having a fun moment to fuck you.
Yeah, but fuck you. We're doing what we want. Yeah, I think it's the 9th Colossi. So, for example, when you encounter the 9th Colossi, it's in this arena where there are like geysers shooting up from the ground.
Yeah.
What you have to do, because you can't like damage the Colossi at all. So in order to damage it, what you've got to do is you've got to sort of bait it onto the geysers, where it'll sort of be thrust up in the air. Then you've got to shoot its feet so that it will tip over, so that you can reach its underbelly, and then you scale it up to the head, and then you can damage it. So it's almost like this, like, the part of the battle is figuring out how to use the environment to your advantage,
This just sounds to me like trying to beat the Ender Dragon in Minecraft on like God mode.
I've no idea. I've never played Minecraft. I've no idea if it's inappropriate. I'll assume. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I was just saying. So the thing in Minecraft, you get to a point where you go to the end and there's an Ender Dragon.
Yeah.
And there are like beacons, and you have to take the beacon. You can like try and shoot it, but it will also attack you.
Yeah.
And then you have to like try and get the beacons out, and then get it to rest, and then you can only shoot at certain points, and actually do damage. So just remind you of that.
Maybe, yeah. But yeah, that's Shadow of the Colossus. Go buy it. PS2, PS4, it's up to you. Just buy it. It's definitely worth your time.
Fair.
What about you? What's your PS2 best of PS2?
PS2 is a difficult one for me because I have three games in mind. Three things for different reasons.
Okay.
In terms of the game that I play, well, certainly have played the most, it is From Russia with Love, the James Bond game, which came out in 2007.
Okay.
A big fan of that, just because Sean Connery, is his voice. The game's a lot of fun. Obviously, it does take bits from like GoldenEye and Thunderball, Goldfinger and Thunderball.
Right.
So I am a fan of that game. It does. The PlayStation 2 is responsible for, in my opinion, the best Sims game that's ever come out.
Which one's that?
It was the second Sims came out on PS2.
Okay.
And I think that is by far and large the best version of The Sims. I think it's better than the Sims PC versions.
Okay.
But the other game I spent a lot of time playing was Need for Speed Carbon.
Right. Okay. I've heard of that one. I've heard of The Sims as well, in fairness, but
quite possibly, there's a Canadian actress, Emmanuelle Vaugier, who is in it. She's alright. She's not bad to look at. And
okay.
And I think young me was like, oof, I'll watch it just to watch her talk for 5 seconds.
Right. Okay. I see.
I'm pretty certain she's playing herself. And she just like introduces certain bits of it, and it is just like you do races and stuff like that. It's not particularly like story based or anything like that. But I put a lot of hours into that.
Okay.
Like PS2 for me involved a lot of like car games and racing and sort of that kind of area.
Yeah, I think I missed the boat on the Need for Speed PS2 games. I know that they're held in very high regard. Need for Speed Carbon. What are the other ones as well? It's not Burnout. Burnout's something else, isn't it?
Burnout's something else. I did also own Burnout.
Yeah.
Is
it Most Wanted?
Need for Speed Most Wanted. I had that as well.
Yeah.
There's a few for Need for Speed.
Yeah.
But yes. I mean, the games are much better than the film that they made of it.
Yes. Well, yeah, the less than better. That was just after Breaking Bad as well, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Aaron Paul, fresh out of Breaking Bad, and that's what he ended up in.
Completely ruined his credibility.
Yeah.
It's made by the same people that made Burnout, to be fair.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm trying to find the ones that actually Underground, that came out on PS2.
Right, okay. I think maybe
I also
Underground.
had that.
Yeah, maybe Underground Most Wanted. I don't know. I think most of the Need for Speeds on PS2 are like, still considered like peak racing game. Definitely.
Yes. Yeah, I had quite a few of them, I think. But yeah, so I kind of did more of that on PlayStation. I mean, throughout all of this, FIFA does just sort of sit in the background, but it's such a sort of non-consequential game to mention.
Yeah,
like, it's just me playing football on a game.
Are you one of those you'll buy like the newer version every time it comes out, or do you just buy like a version of FIFA and that will see you through the console generation?
I buy one. I used to get them not every year, but certainly since I think the mid 2000s, since like FIFA 05, 04. I think since then I've bought one maybe every 6 years.
Okay. Right.
Like
long enough for there to be an actual difference between each version, yeah?
Yeah, well, you just want something new that's not boring. Like, I purposely had either FIFA 17 or 18 because it had a slight story mode to it.
That was weird.
Just to play that. That was literally all I did with it.
Yeah.
And then I got rid of it.
Right.
But yeah, other than that, FIFA just kind of sits in the background as a game I play occasionally.
If I had to press you, you could only have one of those as your official favorite PS2 game.
Oh, I did be From Russia with Love.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Another Bond game.
Another Bond game. It's got jetpacks in it.
Ah, right. Okay. All right. Okay. In fairness, yeah, makes perfect sense.
Yeah. I mean, I played James Bond Nightfire as well, which Brosnan's in, but it's just nowhere near as good a game.
Right. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay.
No, From Russia with Love wins hands down. Sean Connery. You can use the golden gun in it and stuff. It's class.
Okay, fair enough. Does that bring us to? Well, it brings
Um,
me to PS3. It brings you to Xbox, right?
it does.
Okay.
Did the Nintendo Wii come out before then?
Yes. Well, it came out. I think it was 360 Wii PS3. I think that was the order.
Okay.
But yeah, I think they're all officially part of the same generation.
Because I mean, I have a simple one for that because it's just Mario Kart, and that's it.
Oh right, okay. I think it was Brawl for me. Super Smash. No, Sonic Colors was probably my favorite Wii game. But I also put a lot of time into Super Smash Bros. Brawl. But I've never played. I was gonna get Ultimate for the Switch, but I don't like this whole like you got to pay to play online nonsense that video games are starting to. Like, I guess I get it. You know, it's expensive to host servers and everything, but the problem is we used to be able to do that for free. You used to be able to play PS3, Wii, all of those.
Yep.
No subscription fees. You could just go online and play with anybody. Now you can't. So it's just it feels kind of pointless to buy Smash Ultimate if you're not going to do like the online stuff.
No,
that's sort of the point of a fighting game, isn't it? That you engage with you play online and you fight with other people. I would just be fighting myself if I bought it. But yeah, either Sonic Colors or Brawl. I guess Colors because it's a Sonic game, and those kind of win by default, I think.
Well, the thing with Mario Kart was when I was in first year in halls, we did like Mario Kart drinking, so it became it's like synonymous with that now. So that kind of has the good memories of first year minus our dumb shit that we did. So
right.
It holds up just for that because it was fun to play Mario Kart absolute steaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, otherwise, Xbox and PS3. I have never I've never owned a PS3.
Mm-hmm.
I played PS3, but I mean, all I did was play Red Dead.
Ah, right, okay.
Which I did also own for Xbox. Fallout 3 has to be the winner, I guess.
Yeah, you kind of can't. It kind of can't be
because it is my favorite game of all time.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't even know how to explain my love for that game. It's open world. There's different ways to play the main plot of the story. It's got the music to it. I like the armor. I like the fact that there's a boat. Genuinely big love for the boat. The fact that it's set up in a vault. The fact that I am very much willing and considering spending £120 on a Pip-Boy.
Right. Okay.
It's a replica Pip-Boy you build and you can't do anything fucking with it. It would just sit on my desk. But I'm very much considering spending £120 and doing it.
Why not? Why not? It's not like you have to buy a lamp or anything anymore.
We might be having another lockdown. I might need something to do. So
yeah. Like I said, it's not as if you need a lamp anymore. You got the money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last lockdown, I got a PlayStation 4 and an iPad. So surely this one lends itself to wasting £120 on a replica Pip-Boy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of has to be Fallout 4. Fallout 3.
Yeah.
But like big shout outs to Red Dead and GTA 5.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair. I should probably have decided beforehand. Because that's probably the generation that I've invested the most in gaming wise is the PS3. Yeah. There's so much that I've played on PS3. God, I don't know. I mean, Sonic Generations and Sonic Unleashed, we'll get the Sonic games out of the way.
Yeah.
They're games that I love and hold in very high regard for their own reasons. They're two games where I just can't separate them. I don't know which one I prefer, Generations or Unleashed. It goes back and forth constantly. What else? Split Second Velocity I have a lot of love for.
Yeah.
It's like a racing. Do you know anything about that?
I've heard the name.
Yeah, it's a racing game basically, but it's like, I guess the main gimmick is that on the track there are loads of like destructible objects. So as you race, you sort of accumulate power, and you can activate certain power plays during the race. So if you're racing through an airport, for example, and you've accumulated enough power, you can bring down like a tower that will destroy part of the track, and it will like you'll have to race through a different portion of the airport. And you can like bring down planes on people, and it's incredibly like high, very fast, very high octane, very like destructive racing. I always go back to that for some reason. Even though I don't engage in the online stuff anymore, I always go back to that.
Yeah. While we've been talking, you just made me somehow, in what you said, reminded me of the fact that when we were talking about PS1, I completely forgot how much love I have for Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase.
Oh, right, okay.
A lot of love for that game.
Okay.
For absolutely no reason, because it was terrible. But
you know, I think my equivalent of that is Stuart Little 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was one I put a lot of time into.
Yeah,
definitely. I never picked up. I've seen Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase, but I never picked up the game. I don't think I knew about it until like years afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what to decide. Maybe Spec Ops: The Line.
Okay.
I think that might be my favorite PS3 game, because for a while that was my favorite game, Spec Ops: The Line. Do you know anything about that?
Not a fucking clue.
I'm not sure if I brought it up on the podcast as like a part of another conversation. Basically, Spec Ops: The Line, it's this it's sort of like a third person Gears of War-esque like cover shooter. That's like the foundation of the game. But the thing that's really interesting about Spec Ops: The Line is it's based on Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, which I presume you've heard of.
Yeah, I'm fun.
It's the film, the book that inspired Apocalypse Now, in case anyone didn't know. Yeah, so it's the premise is Dubai has been hit by this post-apocalyptic sandstorm, and this sort of platoon or like portion of the American army, they go into Dubai to sort of conduct evacuations amongst the citizens, and all contact is lost for the team. And then eventually you get like a distress call from the head of the team, who I think is called Conrad. And he was obviously like, our operation has failed. So you play as like the leader of this 3-man Delta squad. You go into Dubai with the intention of finding him and sort of conducting the evacuations as and when necessary. But it's basically kind of like Heart of Darkness. It is just this sort of constant descent into madness. And even though it's a third-person shooter, by the time you get to like the third third of the game, it's almost becoming like a horror game. And that's really interesting, is the sort of the way the narrative just it goes down and down and down and down. Everything just keeps getting worse. There's like a point where there's a couple of times where the game throws like moral choices at you, but they're all like terrible options. I think there's one moment where you have to choose between letting a guy burn to death or shooting him in the head. Like that's the level of moral choice that you have to live. Like that's what the game throws at you.
I am a fan of the sound of that.
It's as far as third-person shooters go, it's fine. There's a slight tactical element, because Spec Ops was like a tactical franchise on like PS2, PS1, I think, and this was supposed to be sort of like a soft reboot kind of thing. So there you've got like two guys. You've got like a sniper and like a heavy gunner who are sort of not a heavy gunner, but like another shooter who are on your team, and you can sort of give them directions in battle in terms of like, go shoot this guy, go do that. But it's mainly a third-person shooter, and it's fine. But it's definitely like the story component. That's what's so compelling about Spec Ops: The Line. There's a scene involving white phosphorus about 2/3 into the game, which is still, like, to this day has stuck with me. It's like one of the best sequences in gaming, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend that. If you're into shooters as well, I think you're sort of...
Yeah, it does sound like something I'd probably enjoy playing.
Yeah, definitely check that out. So yeah, I think probably Spec Ops: The Line will be my pick for PS3.
Well, I suppose that I feel like this lends nicely into what I'm going to say for PS4 then.
Go on.
Now, I will say it's not necessarily my favorite game, but I have
Okay.
only owned a PS4 for a few months, and this is one of the games that I happened to play on someone else's before I owned one.
Okay.
And I did talk about it in my dissertation, so I probably should go with it.
Go on.
And that is Until Dawn. And
Oh, okay. Interesting.
yeah, now the thing with Until Dawn, for people that don't know, Until Dawn is a branching dialogue systems based game, which legitimately has a 40,000 page script.
Yes.
Because it has all the different ways you can play it, because you can kill everyone, you can keep everyone alive, basically, within reason. And, it's obviously a horror game. Confused the fuck out of me when I realised that Rami Malek was a real person.
Yeah, yes. It's sort of
watching Mr. Robot for the first time and seeing Rami Malek, and I was like, that's the guy from the game, what is going on?
See, for me, it was Night at the Museum. I'd seen Night at the Museum first, but then I watched Mr. Robot, and I went back to Night at the Museum, where he's basically like this nice guy. It's like, oh, fuck, what?
I only clocked that it was him in Night at the Museum when I looked up his filmography.
Yes.
Had no idea, hadn't noticed.
Yeah, it was bizarre. Until Dawn, it's like a teen slasher movie, right? That's the sort of the thing that it's taking inspiration from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with that purely because otherwise, realistically, my answer for PlayStation 4 is probably going to be Fallout 4. And if I go from this list with 2 James Bond games and 2 Fallout games, it's extremely boring.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say that, Until Dawn takes it just because I'm a fan of the idea and the script that comes with it, and the fact that they put that much kind of effort into the gameplay. And like, there are moments where you literally do need to put the controller down in order to avoid someone getting killed, and I do quite like that.
Okay. What's the quality of the writing like? I feel like in general, video game writing is starting to get a bit better. But yeah, what's the sort of quality of the writing in Until Dawn like?
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it's not highbrow writing. But I think it's good for the kind of, because it's trying to portray a teen slasher film in the game, so I think it suits that kind of idea. I wouldn't say it's bad dialogue, and they obviously spent a lot of time working on it. And I am a fan of the idea of branching dialogue systems. Like, you get them in the Fallout games, so.
Yes, of course.
Not to the same kind of extent. Like, it is different, but the fact that you have the multiple options, it does make sense. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's bad writing at all.
Okay.
Obviously, the game looks nice.
Yes.
Obviously, it's a kind of cinematic style game, really.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, big fan of that.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna have to say that because my game. Otherwise, because I played GTA 5. Which came out on the Xbox.
Yes.
So I can't say that. I can't say The Sims 4 because I use The Sim 4 these days just to build houses look nice.
Right. Okay.
So I'll
what
say
is it with you? Because didn't you say like ages ago you watched like YouTube videos about like tiny houses?
I do. Yeah. I watch documentaries on tiny houses all the time.
What's that about? This fascination you have with houses. Where's this coming from?
Do you know, honestly, when I was younger, there was a part of me that really wanted to be an architect.
Oh, okay. That's I should have expected that answer. Honestly.
Yeah, no, legit. Yeah, legit. There was a part of me that really wanted to be an architect. And I will, like, in terms of like the film side of things, I used to really like the idea of set design. I'm just not good enough at designing or graphics for anything like that.
Okay. All right.
Like that side of things used to fascinate me. When I was in college and we did Jerusalem, I drew up the floor plan for like Car Station.
Okay. All right.
So yeah, there's a real thing. I mean, I am just fascinated with tiny houses because I think, because I look around and I look at how much space that I like to use in a house.
Mm.
And I want to live in a house which is literally, probably as far as the wardrobe is, sort of long.
Right.
And I'm like, just none of it would fit. I don't know how I do it, but the idea of that challenge is really interesting to me.
Okay. All right.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Everyone's just gonna know I'm a weird Don that likes tiny houses. But yeah,
They're
no,
gonna start sending you like listings for tiny houses. Like
uh,
here's one. Here's one.
but yeah, no,
Yeah.
it is fair. I probably would have done something design based if I was good enough at like art and stuff at school.
Okay. All right.
But I can't even draw a tree for
Right. Yeah, you can't.
for people's understanding. I can design a poster for like a play and stuff, and use base simple stuff on that. But if you asked me to draw a tree in a pencil, I would spend like 6 hours doing it, and it would still look terrible.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, back to games. Games.
Yeah. No, I feel like even if you, as you said, you haven't played many PS4 games, but I did feel like even though you haven't played many, Until Dawn is still considered to be one of the better ones.
Mm-hmm.
Like you still seem to have stumbled across a game that I think a lot of people would say is like a good PS4 game. It's something that I've never really like. I'm curious about it.
Yeah,
but I'm so skeptical when it comes to like heavily narratively driven video games. I feel like that like The Last of Us kind of ruined that for me a little bit. I never got through The Last of Us. I bought it like day one. I was excited to play it. Immediately, like I was only like an hour or two in, and I declared like, "Oh yeah, this is gonna be one of my favorite games." I know it is. I just never finished it.
no,
and like what the new God of War as well, God of War 2018 that came out on the PS4. That's more like now. I know it's not quite Until Dawn, because Until Dawn is literally like a string of cutscenes where there are occasionally like button prompts and some very restricted movement in there. Whereas God of War is a third-person melee Dark Soulsy kind of game that has a lot of story on top of that. But yeah, I'm just exhausted by that sort of thing. So, but you would you recommend Until Dawn?
yeah,
speaking?
I would. I think it's once you've played it, you probably wouldn't care. But yeah, it's something fun to play. I mean, no one else buys a PS4 like 3 years after it comes out, other than me.
I wait a while. Like the PS5, obviously that's coming out this year as of time of recording,
and that's when I bought a PS4.
yeah. But no, I tend to wait 2 or 3 years into a console's life cycle to actually buy it, because then there's games for it.
Yeah,
there's
that's
very
true.
few consoles that have come out where the launch games alone have been enough incentive to buy the console. I can't really think of any Xbox or PlayStation. I can't really think of any like launch titles where I'm like, yeah, I would be disappointed if I wasn't able to play those,
Well, I was say, I think the thing with the PS5, the fact that it's launching with GTA 5.
Yeah,
which launched on Xbox and PlayStation 3. Like,
yeah, it's definitely telling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all know they are working on GTA 6. It's not like it's hidden. We all know they're doing it. It's just they're clearly trying to figure out how the fuck they do better than GTA 5.
Yeah, like what the hell else do you put? Yeah, not just like when you look at GTA 5, but when you look at Red Dead Redemption 2. Like we were at a point where, the horses would shit themselves randomly.
Yeah.
Like if a game, like they were like as well, bodies would decompose after you shot them.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you left them for long enough, the bodies would literally start to decompose.
Yeah. Where
the hell do we go next? Genuinely.
No, I know.
What the hell do you put in a game now? To go back to Until Dawn.
Yeah.
Briefly. How is that game structured, like narrative-wise? Is it sort of put together like a film, like a play? How is it sort of how does it fit together?
Have you not completely, but have you done Bandersnatch on Netflix?
No, but I know how it works.
Yeah, I'd say similar to that. I suppose like you'll meet a character, like options will show themselves. There are little like totems you can look at. There's like things like that. Which totems are interesting because you might see a cutscene from later on, but it's not necessarily a cutscene that you'll see like a moment, but it won't necessarily be a moment that you will follow. It's like a scene you can avoid.
Okay, all right.
Because obviously, like the whole thing is, it follows like the butterfly effect idea. So if there's a bit where you can choose to like shoot a bird. If you shoot a bird, that starts a character off on a certain journey. If you don't shoot the bird, it starts them off on a different journey.
Okay.
Like you can go take two characters off into a cabin and whatnot, and then you can sort of control everything that really sort of goes on there. But it is, you're controlling the dialogue, all the like other than like looking around for totems, all the like moving around, other than trying to find like little things, like it is all controlled. So like if you're going to shoot the bird and the gun, like the gun's there, like you have to choose. Like it'll come up as an option of shoot the bird. It's that simple.
Right. Okay. In terms of the script itself, though, because like I said to you, it's sort of like basing itself on slasher movies. That's the inspiration going into it. Does the script feel like it's trying to mimic? I don't know how to describe it. I guess like the structure of it. Does it feel like if you were to take the gameplay elements out, does it feel like a slasher movie?
I think yeah, you'd feel like you were following a teen slasher. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I was thinking about this the other day, like why I'm so done with like narrative games like God of War. I mean, God of War is a bad example because that's the original three God of, which I recommend those if you haven't played God of War. God of War 1, 2, 3, they're like great.
I can't remember if I played them.
Well, if you had PS2, you might have played the first two. The third one was PS3 only, so you probably wouldn't have played that. But yeah, like they're so different. The game, the type of game they are is so different. God of War is like a character. I think the genre is now called character action games. So they're basically like very fast paced, very fluid combat where you sort of build combos and there's this whole horde of enemies you have to take out, like Devil May Cry and Bayonetta, those types of games. And Kratos, despite being a very angry character, he's very elegant to control. The gameplay of God of War is incredibly fluid and smooth, whereas the new God of War, it's so much slower, and it feels like they've tried to make him feel weightier. So the gameplay is a lot more like clunky and sluggish.
Oh,
but on top of that as well, God of War, like surprisingly, given that it was so gameplay focused, there was like decent story to it, and they handled the story like decently. Whereas in the new God of War, like story is front and center. That's like all that matters. They do this weird thing where they do the whole game in a way that it looks like it's filmed in one take. So all of the cutscenes and the gameplay, there's no like cuts in the cutscenes, and it's a smooth transition between cutscenes and gameplay.
I'm a fan of a one take.
So the whole game is one take, except for when you die, because obviously they're going to have to go put you through loading screens. And not only is that like, that's an incredibly likely thing to happen because again, the game is sort of aping Dark Souls. So it's incredibly difficult combat. So you are going to die.
Yes.
So the one take thing doesn't hold up. Because most people are going to die, so they're going to compromise the whole one take thing.
That's just, but I'm a fan of a one take. I mean, I'm a Birdman as a film.
Yeah,
it's one of the things I like about 1917, whether I like the film or not.
Yeah,
I style of
I credit the way they did it because a lot of that game is motion captured as well. So in a way, it is done like 1917, where it is sort of filmed and they stitch together the seams to make it look like a one take. And it's sort of well choreographed. It's a very well choreographed game. I won't take that away from it. But I think the problem is that a lot of the games like The Last of Us, like God of War, that are very narratively driven, they're clearly like aping off movies. They're trying to be films.
Yes.
Because the story of The Last of Us is, you are a father who lost the first one now. You're a father who lost his daughter, sorry. And then this sort of zombie apocalypse happens, and you meet this girl who is immune to the zombie virus, and you have to travel with her across America to take her to this facility where they're going to develop a cure.
Yeah.
So the game is you are stuck with this girl who obviously you don't like. I mean, she's got a bit of an attitude anyway, but obviously she reminds you of your daughter that you lost. So there's this like unwillingness on the character's part to want to bond with her. And then as the journey progresses, obviously they form a connection. Very cinematic story.
Yes.
It's something you've seen in films loads of times before. Similar thing with God of War. Like at the beginning of the God of War 2018, Kratos' wife dies, and you have a son, and it's very clear that it's very clear that the mother is the glue that held that family together because Kratos doesn't get on with his son. And the premise of the game is you have to go to the tallest mountain in all of the realms to scatter her ashes. So the whole game is you traveling to the place where you're going to scatter the mother's ashes. So again, it's very similar. It's like, you and this child are going on this journey together. You don't get along, but through the trials and tribulations, you will eventually get along.
Yes.
Like over the course of a film, that story, it takes about 2.5 hours for that story to unfold. Over a game, that story is going to take about like 16 or 18 hours. If you're good at it. Like if you're bad, it could take even longer. And if you're going to indulge in the side activities, it's going to take even longer than that.
Yeah.
I think that's what I don't like about it, because it's the same type of storytelling, but it's just extended unnecessarily,
Have you ever played the Telltale games?
No, I haven't played them.
Okay.
I know that The Walking Dead, at least the earlier seasons of The Walking Dead, are held in high regard, aren't they?
I'd say, yeah. I mean, 1 and 2, I think, are definitely better than the other 2 seasons.
Yeah.
1 in particular, I'm a big fan of. If I was gonna, because I've considered buying. You can buy all 4 now for PlayStation 4. I have considered buying all 4. But yeah, 1 I was a big fan of. I mean, like it's game. Like the controls were a bit of a pain in the ass in 1. Like 2's a bit better to play.
Yeah.
Controls.
Yeah.
But they look, because they've got that sort of comic style. But,
Yes.
In a game, I love the look of them.
Okay.
And obviously, as someone who was a fan a fan of early Walking Dead and is a fan of the comic of Walking Dead.
Yes. Yeah.
I am a big fan in that regard. It is very funny because you meet in the game. Obviously, you meet certain characters which do cross over into the TV series, and you're like, you don't look like the person I'm used to seeing on TV.
Yeah.
You are not Herschel. You are not Glenn. Like, what are you doing? So yeah, that's quite interesting. Just having like those 2 characters sort of cross over. Like they did a version on like a mini sort of series of episodes on Michonne, which was also quite interesting to play. It was quite interesting to give her a backstory.
Okay.
Because in the TV series you don't really get that. So it was quite an interesting like little thing to be like, I'm going to go play this and see what they're giving for her backstory.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Okay.
I kind of wished when they announced they were doing that, I was like, okay, it'd be quite cool to sort of see what else you do with like other ones, but they never bothered.
Yes. I think those are slightly better because, I mean, they're called episode 1, episode 2, episode 3. Like it's structured more like a TV series, isn't it?
Yes.
I think it's more like it's more like a TV series. To bring Persona 5 back into the mix.
Yep, let's go
for a little bit. I should say, like, I'm not like I'm fine with it. The only reason I'm bringing it up so much is because it's what I'm playing at the moment. It's at the forefront of that's what my attention is focused on. It's fine. I have a feeling that like when I'm finished with it and time has passed on, I'm not going to go back to it. It's just going to be one of those games that I played at one point.
Yeah.
But it's the thing I'm playing now, so it's the thing that I'm bringing. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because I feel like that works because that feels like it's structured like a TV show. Again, like the game is, I'm in like my 90th hour of gameplay. I think I'm on the final portion of the game now. Because I defeated what was very clearly the final boss. Because the game was just throwing up all of these red flags, like, this is the final boss. If you have anything left to do, do it now. And all of the characters were like saying goodbye to me. And it's like, right, this is clearly the final boss. And I killed him. and the game has just sort of kept going. It was like, okay, this is interesting. I wonder what the hell's going on here. But the premise of that game is that you basically conduct a series of heists with your schoolmates. So like every single heist, a new character is sort of brought into the fold, or it focuses on a character that has previously been brought into the story.
Yeah.
So that they feel like episodes of a TV show. So it feels more appropriate to sort of be in that world and with those characters for 100 hours, as opposed to Kratos and his son, where it's like, okay, we're 20 hours in. I know you're going to start getting on soon. Why are you still throwing up like hurdles that you have to, over the course of like a 2.5 hour movie? This kind of story can sometimes get a bit grating, but we're in our like 20th hour of gameplay now. There isn't really anything else to substitute it. Whereas with like Persona 5 and with Telltale games, it's like no, we're doing like episodes. It's more like this is more a world that has multiple stories within it rather than one story that we've just dragged out for so long,
Yeah. Just to briefly cross into TV.
Okay.
And I feel like we might bring this up properly when we return for next week's episode as a trio.
Yeah.
Dexter's coming back.
Dexter's coming back, yeah. Did you watch Dexter when it was on?
No.
You didn't? Okay. All right.
I've seen very little of Dexter. I have seen some, but I've seen very little. But also, I know you're watching it, and I was just like, we should definitely have a proper chat about something.
No, definitely. Like, I'm now in the bad part of Dexter, like definitively the bad part of Dexter. I watched the first 4 seasons, and they were genuinely great. Like, I will buy those seasons of television. I think I've said to you, like, there's 2 things that I really, really like about Dexter. The first thing is it feels like they have a collection of characters that really work for storytelling. Yeah. Because there's loads of like interpersonal relationships that kind of clash with each other. So, for example, in the earlier seasons at least, you've got like Dexter and his sister, who obviously get on. But then you've got the police or the lieutenant of that team who hates the sister but likes Dexter. So you've got conflict there. And then you've got like this detective who is suspicious of Dexter and hates him and doesn't trust him, but he's really fond of Deborah, the sister, so they get on. And then you've got like all of these like different relationships that are sort of stacking on top of each other in a way where it feels like it makes sense that there's conflict, but it doesn't make sense. Like, it makes sense that these people would get on with each other, Yeah. It's not completely dysfunctional, but it's also a pretty fertile breeding ground for storytelling, for conflict. And the other thing that I really like about Dexter is the tone. I think it's got a brilliant tone that it just handles really, really well. Like, it's sort of like, it's very light and it's very funny and very light-hearted, but it's also very like grim and dark at times. And it seems to balance the two incredibly well. But I'm at the point now in Series 5 where I won't spoil what happens, because I think the ending of Series 4 is like universally considered to be like one of the best endings of a season ever. Genuinely.
Season 4 itself 5 just like shits on it. Like,
yeah, well, Season 5 is sort of living in the shadow of the ending of Series 4. Like, those characters are living in the shadow of what happened as well. So everyone's kind of miserable and everyone's just kind of dealing with this new status quo. So that tone is gone. And also a lot of the characters that were creating interesting dynamics and conflicts are gone as well. Or they've like made amends with each other. So the 2 great things about Dexter, in my opinion at least, other than like, they're obviously the performances and stuff were great, but the 2 things that were really elevating that show above everything else are basically gone in Series 5. And it just gets worse from there. And the ending of Dexter as well, Series 8 ending, is awful. So whatever this mini series is going to be,
it's 10 episodes, isn't it? So
it's 10 episodes, yeah. But I can't imagine it's going to come up with a worse ending than Series 8. Like, it's going to have to be really, really shit to be a worse ending than the ending of Series 8.
Well, time will tell, I suppose.
Time will tell. But I'm interested. I'm interested to see where they go with it. I guess it is a bit of a spoiler, but Dexter's sister wouldn't be able to return in the miniseries, which is a bit of a shame because she was genuinely one of the best things about that show. She was like the heart of the show, you know. So for her to not be in it, that's going to be a genuine loss. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes.
Fair. Yeah, I just wanted to cross to that because I knew you would. You've been watching Dexter.
Yeah.
Did you say your favorite game for the PlayStation 4?
I didn't. It's probably a tricky one, actually. It might be Thumper.
You've mentioned Thumper to me before.
I've mentioned Thumper to you before. It's a... What's the word they came up with? Rhythm violence. It's a rhythm violence game. It's a rhythm game. But it's like completely unique within the genre. You're basically like this little space beetle, I guess, and you're basically like hurtling down this like track. As this really like industrial, almost creepy music is playing. And it's like a rhythm game where there are like plenty of obstacles that you have to certain button impulse will allow you to traverse certain obstacles. But it's so like, I don't know. It's kind of like Doom, where it's such a cathartic experience because it's sort of, I don't know. I don't know, Eddie. It's just very, very good. I like it a lot. I like the style and the music and the tone of it, and it's just it's incredibly cathartic. It's incredibly fun and fulfilling, and that's actually, apart from Doom Eternal, that is my go-to. Like, I just need something to like, you know.
Yeah.
I just need a game that's fun and that's cathartic and that I can play for like 20 minutes. And Thumper is the one. It's since I played it, that's my go-to game, you know?
Fair.
Yeah. So probably Thumper, yeah.
Ah. I don't know. I was saying, I don't know if you like. I could kind of do handheld. Like so your DSs and stuff. But I've only like Game Boy Color or what? No, it would have been the Game Boy Advance SP was I think the one I had.
Right. Okay.
And I had Prisoner of Azkaban on that. That was a banging game.
Okay.
I just used to like fight battles in those, which I imagine similar to like Pokemon fight battles on games.
Maybe, yeah.
But then I'm really weird when it comes to the Nintendo DS.
Okay.
Because I played 2 games more than I played anything else. One was Nintendogs.
Right. Okay.
And one was Brain Training.
Oh, okay. All right.
And I would lord those over any other game I played for the DS.
No, Brain Training's class. I can vouch for Brain Training. Yeah. I never owned a DS, but yeah, that was one of like, I knew people who had a DS and they all had Brain Training, so that was like one game that I played, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, like Nintendogs was just, it was a fun way to have a dog that you didn't actually have to care for in your life. I could shut it off if I wanted to.
When's the last time you were with your Nintendog? When's the last time you visited him?
Well, I sold my DS about a year ago.
Right.
So I haven't seen him in about a year.
Poor
but
thing.
Those were the last 2 games. I still had them. I had them at uni.
Yeah.
And I do remember being bored in my room one day, just not wanting to do my coursework and just sat playing Nintendogs, not giving a shit.
Yeah.
Pretty sure all my housemates were at the pub watching the football, and I was just like,
with your Nintendo. What was his name?
Sat home
what was the dog's name?
I actually named my dog after the dog I used to have, because I called him Charlie.
Oh, right. Okay. Was it the same breed as well?
Yep.
Ah, right. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I bought the Dalmatian version of Nintendogs on purpose.
Right. Okay.
I don't know if I've ever mentioned on the podcast that I used to have a dog.
No, I didn't know that about you. I guess I assume most people have had a pet at some point, but yeah, I didn't know that you were I know we had the conversation last Halloween about like dogs versus cats. Are you a dog person or a cat person? I think you said you were a dog person, but I didn't know.
Oh, it must have come up on that actually. It must have come up on that because the reason I had a dog was to get rid of my fear of dogs. And we talked about.
Oh, I genuinely don't remember this. You might have, but I have no memory of this.
Well, no, I know we talked about my fear of dolls.
Yeah.
But I feel like I would have brought up that I used to have a fear of dogs because that's why we got a dog.
Okay.
If not, exclusive information for
Yeah.
literally anyone that's listening.
Okay.
Um,
How strange.
yeah, no, I used to have proper fear of dogs. Didn't like them coming near me, even if they were like a cute beagle or something like that.
Okay. And your parents thought, oh, I know how we'll sort this out. We'll just thrust him into this situation where it's just going to be a dog 24/7.
Yeah, and now I absolutely love dogs.
Oh.
So it worked.
Okay. Oh, okay. I can't fault
There's something to the psychology there, I suppose.
Yeah.
But they got a Dalmatian, and Dalmatians are not easy dogs. Like, they're difficult to train.
Yeah.
They don't really follow instructions. They're cute when they're small, and then they grow massive. So yeah, it was. I mean, I still love my dog to pieces, but yeah, he was a pain in the ass at times because he grew big enough that he could jump over. We had like the child safety gates and stuff. He could jump over that after a certain point. So yeah, but yeah, I had Nintendogs for literally that reason. I had a PSP, but we bought it secondhand, and it broke very quickly.
Right.
And so I only ever got around to playing FIFA on it before it broke within a month.
Right. Okay. I got a PSP, but I haven't got many games for it. I think like Sonic Rivals 2 would probably be my favorite, but that's like one of 6 games that I owned on the PSP. I really didn't have that many.
Yeah.
Yeah, handheld's something I've never really like ventured into because I was playing video games so much anyway. It'd be weird to have like, oh, I'll also have a handheld, so I don't even have to be in the house if I want to play video games. It's like, no, I play them enough. I don't need a handheld as well.
Do you go in PC much?
No, because I know that's a slippery slope. If I start playing games on my PC, I won't use my PC for anything else. So it's just like I don't need more distractions from like doing work and stuff. Fair. So yeah, fair. I have a strict no game policy on the PC. Which is a shame because there's like a bunch of stuff that I know I've missed out on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't. I know. I just won't be able to control myself when it comes to that sort of thing.
No, that is fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've played. I used to play. I think it's Broken Sword back in the day.
Okay.
Some kind of Broken Sword game.
Not familiar.
Which was my sister's again. That was a PC thing.
Yeah.
Worms I used to play on the PC.
Oh, right. Okay.
Big fan of Worms. I purposely download the demos on every like console I buy just so I can have fun with Worms for like 20 minutes.
Right.
Big fan of Worms. I download a poker game on every one I have as well. I quite like keeping up to date with poker because I used to play a little bit when I was younger.
Yeah.
So I keep up with poker. But other than that, for PC, I had Steam for a brief period of time.
Okay, all right.
And
that would be a problem as well because I know Steam do regular sales, so I would just be buying shit on sale all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a game on there, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a border patrol thing. It was a Russian game.
Oh,
really suspect.
Is it Papers, Please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of Papers, Please. Yeah.
Yeah, I played that with someone. He was in the year below me on my course. You'd know him,
right?
But I'm obviously not going to name people on the podcast. But yeah, I was introduced to it by him, and for some reason thought it was fun to play. So it's definitely not a game like I imagine it probably offended people quite easily. Because you do just sit there patrolling a Russian border, basically.
Yeah, this weird like
whether people get let in or not.
I don't know how to describe it. Lucas Pope, I think, is the name of the guy who did Papers, Please. He also brought out a game a couple of years ago called Return of the Obra Dinn, or Return of the Obra Dinn, however it's pronounced.
Okay.
That game, because Papers, Please, you're playing as a border control guard.
Yep.
and you have to check the documents of everybody that comes through the border, and you have to make sure that they have the proper paperwork and that there's no forged paperwork.
Yeah.
And you have to you let through people who have all the right paperwork, and then if there are people who don't, or people who have discrepancies on their paperwork, then you can't let them through.
No.
But there's this weird incentive on top of that where you get paid more money depending on how many people you process.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes this sort of like, do you do it properly and get paid less, or do you take the risk and just process as many people as possible?
Yeah.
At which point you get fined. So that's like the thing of Papers, Please. Tap my microphone. And then Return of the Obra Dinn, you play as somebody, like, basically there's this ship, the Obra Dinn, that has returned to shore, and you play as this guy who has this pocket watch that allows you to see the moment that people died. So you have to, because the Obra Dinn is, I can't remember if it's Dinn or Din. I'll say Din. The Obra Dinn has returned, and all of the crew are missing, and you basically have to. The game is you seeing the moment that every crew member died, and you have to like discern the identity of the crew members and how they died, and like figure out like other people based on that, because not everybody, it doesn't tell you the people when you see them die, so you have to figure out their identities, and through figuring out one person's identity, that gives you clues as to other people's identities. So yeah, Lucas Pope, he seems to build these games on like the idea of bureaucracy, basically. Yeah. They don't sound fun at all, but yeah, there is something compelling about, I just have to, like, this game is basically, I have to do this paperwork.
Yeah.
but somehow...
I mean, I'm a man that likes paperwork, so it doesn't really hide much. I like filling out paperwork.
But yeah, they're definitely two of the more interesting games that have come out, like, in recent years, definitely.
Well, there's a game on Steam which is called Drug Dealer Simulator.
Right, okay.
I haven't played it, but I've seen people play it.
Yeah.
And it is really fun, just because it's stupid. Like, you literally just become a local drug dealer, and you can, like, make up your own different drugs and stuff like that, which is quite fun. Like, you can mix, like, cocaine with, like, sugar and stuff and sell it, and you can get people addicted and stuff. You have to watch You Don't Kill People. But it's quite an interesting, like, little, simulator games do kind of fascinate me a little bit. But yeah, like that I saw that sort of come up, and I was like, what is this? But actually, it looks quite fun. Like, it sort of did well on YouTube for a small period of time.
Yes.
But then, like, hasn't had an update in about, I think it's like 6 months. So it's kind of just died a little bit because it hasn't had an update.
Right.
Like, in terms of, like, YouTube, like, games that are popular, like Fall Guys has dropped off completely because they took too long to do their second season.
Yeah.
So Among Us is now the big don of YouTube.
That is still a thing, is it? That's still like the thing on YouTube. Okay.
It's still getting millions of views.
Yeah. Because I think Minecraft Steve has now been added to Smash. Yeah. So I didn't know whether that had become the new, like, everyone's playing that now,
Smash will come back.
Yes.
It will.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because, Minecraft is due for another popular turn.
You think?
Well, because Minecraft only stopped being popular on YouTube because of Fortnite. And then Fortnite died a little bit.
Okay.
And Minecraft had another spurt. Now, Minecraft's kind of died again.
Right.
But something like Steve being brought into Smash is exactly the kind of thing that could put more Minecraft back as the like number one.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it does seem to go through phases where it's big. I mean, it's obviously kids that watch most of it. I am subscribed to a Minecraft channel because it's really peaceful. What they do is set to, like, really peaceful music, and like, it's quite a gentle thing. It's they always make things look nice. They've got, like, a nice texture on it and stuff. And it's really, like, soothing to watch before I go to bed. Yeah. So I'm a fan.
Right.
Anyone else's these days, but I feel like Minecraft's due another big turn.
Maybe.
And
Yeah.
you know, at some point Among Us will die, but
Yeah. No, I mean, full credit to, I can't remember the guy's name. I wish I knew his name. Well, like Minecraft was made by like one guy or like a very small team of people, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah, like I say I always like I fully credit Scott Cawthon for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, even though that has a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
like that can have a lot of like clutter around it in terms of like its fans and all of like the tangled lore and the fact that everything is trying to be interconnected while the franchise is also trying to do its own thing. Like that is one guy, and he has single-handedly created like a media empire, or like a empire based on this one game. But yeah, Minecraft. If that was indeed one dude or just like a couple of guys, like look at what it's become. It is this it's like juggernaut.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah. So yeah, like full
Well, I
credit
mean,
to those
I
people.
would say Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead 2 are responsible for like westerns being more popular each time.
Yeah.
They cause a rise in westerns.
Yeah.
In cinema, which is just mad when you think about it. Because like, I mean, GTA 5 has some effect on like films that get made, but not the same way.
No.
But then like Red Dead is responsible for westerns, and it's like, oh,
yeah,
interesting to like sort of like see like the little trends that come with some games.
It's like Pirates, isn't it? Pirates of the Caribbean brought pirates back from extinction, basically, in the world of pop culture. No one cared about pirates until the Pirates films came along.
That's another game I played on the Wii.
Which one?
Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End. You could swashbuckle with your Wii remote.
Oh, it wasn't that. I think I had Dead Man's Chest.
Yeah.
If that was indeed the case, I had a Pirates game. It's not there at the moment. I don't know where it's gone, but it's I had a Pirates of the Caribbean game.
Just because you could swashbuckle and it was quite fun to stand in your living room and look like a knobhead.
Yeah.
Fair.
Is that?
I would say, is there any other consoles to discuss in terms of games?
Not really. I mean, I've only got a couple of games on my Switch, so I guess Cuphead would be my favorite for the Switch.
Yeah.
But no, I think we pretty much covered everything that we were going to cover.
Fair.
Yeah. How do you think this has gone? Given that we never,
I think
we don't talk.
Had a good laugh, mate. I've had a good laugh.
Yeah, it's been all right. I think. Yeah.
You'll have to let us know. So.
Yeah, you'll have to let us know, audience, if this was of any interest whatsoever to you.
Yeah. I reckon it will be. I reckon they'll like it.
Well, we'll see, won't we?
Play video games anyway.
Yeah, that's the thing. We don't know how many people play. Like nobody watches our stuff. Like only like one or two people watch our stuff. So of them, like who plays video games?
Well, I mean, I think of the Fundivided that have gone up before. We've had like 40 views on each one.
Yeah.
So
maybe this will be the one, Eddie. This will be the one.
Hopefully,
and Sam won't be in it, so we can say to Sam, like, "Go on, we don't need you anymore. Me and Eddie, we'll take it from here, Sam. We'll take it from here."
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
Well, thanks for everyone who has stayed this far and listened before.
Yes.
And indulged us while we've indulged ourselves.
Yes.
Normal service will resume from next week, hopefully.
Yeah, again, sorry for that.
I mean, we are possibly on the cusp of another full lockdown.
Yeah.
But fingers crossed everything does go according to plan. But yeah, thanks for joining.
Thank you very much.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.